Sound Speeds, and welcome back to the Sound Speeds podcast, a member of the Geeks Rising podcasting community. So for this video, I'm going to tackle two topics. The first one is going to be a sound-related thing, and then I'm going to discuss long-term goals that I personally have for the film industry. And if you have any part that could help with that, then I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. But for right now, let's get right into our first topic. A lot of sound mixers do not like doing car work because it requires you just placing microphones someplace and hoping that actors play into those microphones. For example, if I have a microphone planted directly here and actors are just doing their back and forth looking out the front window while they're having their conversation, you can pick up the voice just fine. But if an actor turns their head really hard to the side to look at the person next to them, they go off axis, just like you just heard. So this is one of the reasons why a lot of sound mixers don't like doing car work. There's no, I guess you could say, creativity in it. All it is just shooting out the front window, shooting out the side, maybe shooting in from the back toward the front, something like that. And there's really no way to push a microphone closer, to change the angle, to make it sound like sweet, something like that. Boom operators usually appreciate the opportunity to sit down and just relax, but still you have to place microphones in a good way. Sometimes sound mixers will want you to place two microphones, one on either side. That way the head turns are consistent, sometimes even more than that. Now, the reason why I wanted to tackle this particular topic is because there are some people out there that will look for any opportunity they can to make something work better. And I'm one of those people. So I won't just place a plant microphone like a lavalier microphone up in a visor. I'm going to try, if at all possible, to get some sort of a larger diaphragm microphone, like a full-size pencil condenser or something like that. Maybe even like if a Shep's, with a GVC swivel or something like that, or a right angle pattern, something like that up in the visor is going to get me a fuller, fatter sound. I'm going to try to do that because I prefer that sound to a lav mic any day of the week. Now, if at all possible, and I've worked on some movies where there's a vehicle that you're in that has a lot of headroom, or if you're in a convertible and, there's no overhead room at all except under the visor, which is going to get air if they're driving down the road. But if at all possible, you're going to do whatever you can to try to avoid wind, having the windows up, and try to get maximum good sound with signal to noise ratio in mind. But sometimes you have the opportunity to be inside the vehicle when the actors are having their dialogue. In this case, do you boom them? Yes, you do. If at all possible, you will absolutely boom them, even though it may be a little awkward. You might not have all the room you want. You might not be able to come fully up from overhead unless you're like an old vintage vehicle, and you might have to come up from underneath, in which case you're going to do whatever you can. Sometimes if you open up a door in order to boom through there, it lets in too much light, and you have to talk to the DP about seeing if they can put like a flag or something like that behind you, so that way it looks more like the door is closed. But you absolutely, if you want the ideal sound, you will absolutely sit down at the passenger side or wherever you can be, and you sit down there going in and booming through the car door. And the reason why is because there is no question about it. It's going to give you the very best results. If I am driving a vehicle and I have my hands up this way, but then I slide my one hand over to the top, and that's where my microphone is coming in, I'm going to be blocking the person's mouth. The hand, rather, is going to be blocking the person's mouth from my microphone. If they drop their hands down low because they say, well, don't put your hands up so high, and they slide their hands down low, that could put it in the path of an under scooping microphone. So that's going to present a problem. But if you're in the vehicle, because it's stopped or something like that, and there's a conversation going on, and you can boom, if someone changes their hands, twists their angle or something like that, you can push the microphone out in front of them. Sometimes, if they're not even actively driving and they're a short person, they don't need to be all the way up on the steering wheel. They can actually back up the seat and give themselves a little bit more room, and that allows you to even boom in from in front of them. So if they're turning their head this way, they won't have to feel like they have to swivel their head around the microphone. They're not going to want to do that anyway, but you can actually push the microphone out in front of them, and there's plenty of room between the actor and the steering wheel. So that is something to keep in mind. In addition to the fact that some cars, you can actually move the steering wheel forward or backwards. So if let's say there is a camera operator, there's two camera operators in the back seat, and they're cross shooting. One person from behind the driver is shooting the passenger side. The person behind the passenger is shooting the driver, and they're like, well, we need to have foot room. then one thing that you might want to look at is a steering wheel adjustment. Can they move the steering wheel forward? Because the actors are already going to be crushing their knees in there anyway, to make room for the people in the back seat with the camera swing and all that kind of stuff. So if they can move the steering wheel closer, that gives you a little bit of room. Now, chances are if there's two people and they're cross shooting, you're not going to be able to boom from the front anyway. So that's when you're going to have to plant. But sometimes what they'll do is they'll shoot behind the driver to the passenger side with a single camera while covering like over the actor, over the driver, directly over to the passenger side too. In which case you might be able to actually get next to the camera operator in the back seat and boom from underneath in the middle between the two actors. So there is some technique to it. There is some practice that you might want to consider. Not all cars allow you to boom because they'll have a big heaping mass in the middle of it. Sometimes they have like an older vehicle has that flip up armrest, and the actor doesn't want to have that up there with them. And the camera operator says, I can't have that there, down below because I need to have it for whatever reason, maybe to brace their arm. And so you can't get past them and boom. But whenever you can actually get in a vehicle and boom, use a low profile microphone, use something very small and get in there and boom. Absolutely. That is certainly on the table for you. For the second topic, I thought I would discuss my personal long-term goals for legitimizing the boom operator role. There's no question in my mind that the boom operator is the most critical role in the sound department. You may say, but the sound mixer is the department head. Yes. But when it comes down to recording, they simply hit record and they don't actively change any microphones. They're multi-tracking. So they may be recording a mix track, and I'm not trying to undermine the role of the sound mixer at all. What I'm basically saying is, in the words of Senator Mike Michaels, if the microphones are off axis, what can I do except record them? A boom operator, on the other hand, can place microphones. They can plant microphones. Sometimes, shows don't even have a utility. So a boom operator will take the role of the sound utility and wire talent and do all the other, tasks that a utility would do as well. But to me, a boom operator is something that is needing to be a legitimized role. No, it's not a department head. But just like how a camera operator is also not technically a department head, but they're under the director of photography, they still have an SOC, Society for the Operators of Cameras, or Society for Camera Operators is actually, I think, the way it is. But I always say the Society of Operators of Cameras because it's SOC, not SCO. But in my opinion, just like how a camera operator provides a lot of value for framing the show and making the camera angles that make the movie work, a boom operator does the same thing for sound. One of the things we will do is we will push for every little bit we possibly can to make the soundtrack sound better. And just like how a camera operator will sometimes mess up, boom operators sometimes mess up too. And we need the help of our sound mixers, just like camera operators need that of the director of photography. But boom operators, if you find someone that's experienced and they know what the plan is, you're going to get great sound out of them. Most of the movies and TV shows that I work, you can basically say, that's a boom. Most of the time, it's a boom, with very few exceptions. Like you might occasionally have to play a wire for a really, really wide scene, but usually I will ask for a wild track. If that's denied, I'll see about if we can do another, a tighter bit, even if they don't use it, just to have coverage of it. I'll say, are we going to do any coverage at all? Can we do like a one pass or something like that with wild? No. Well, can you just put a camera on them then? That way we at least have it close. You'll appreciate it in post. I'll push for that, anything I can. But the boom operator is a very legitimate role. So there are some people in this industry that will still find a career out of being a boom operator. Personally, I love being on set. I love the idea of being where the action is taking place, being an active role of my work is directly related to the soundtrack. It's not just someone hitting the record button and then somebody in post piecing it together. If I'm off axis, that's going to be heard. If I get in there really close and make a good, close, rich sound, that's going to be heard. That's going to be noticed. If I fight for a position to get a microphone in a spot that normally wouldn't get a microphone, and it does not need to be 80 yard, that is a win for me. And for that reason, I think that the boom operator role needs to be legitimized. If you are talking about something like the Audio Engineering Society, you could be an engineer that does live sound. You could be an audio engineer that does a private, studio design. You can also be a professional sound mixer, and you can join the Audio Engineering Society. But the Cinema Audio Society, CAS, is a little bit different. If you want to be an active member in the CAS, which means you are a sound mixer with certain credentials that they approve your membership to, then you could be an active voting member for the CAS, which means that every time that the Academy Awards are up and it's award season, they'll send out screeners. They'll send out the opportunity for you to watch movies and basically vote for what you think is the very best position, a very best show. Another thing it gives you, though, is the ability to put the initials CAS at the end of your name when you are on a movie or TV show. If you are an associate member, which I am and have been for, I don't even know how many years now, almost 10 probably, but that does not, unless you're an active member, which you could only become an active member if you were an actual sound mixer of some sort, then you can be a voting member then and put CAS at the end of your name, but you cannot do that if you're an associate member or even a student member. If you're an associate member, it doesn't matter if you're a member of the CAS for 30 years, they do not let you vote. They do not let you put CAS at the end of your name. So to me, being that there is such a critical role in the sound department, I think it needs to be a legitimized role, just like how camera operators have SOC. I believe there's also a Steadicam version of the SOC. I can't remember. I think there is. But that legitimizes the camera operator's role. I think there needs to be something like that for boom operators as well. I'm not looking at this as a money grab where I'm just looking for spend $200 to join whatever the Society of Boom Operators is going to be called. No, I don't think about that. I don't think of it as even something that we need to necessarily vote on and have an official meeting or something like that. At least that's not my thought right now. But I would like to see something where a boom operator, if they're professional, and for example, let's just say that the criteria for this has to be you working on, let's say, you have to have worked in the industry working as a full-time boom operator for at least 5 years and done, let's just say five years of recognized projects. You work on bigger shows or whatever else, and that would definitely count. You work on some smaller shows, even tier 2s, tier 3s, something like that. You could still join. But it would need to be voted on by members. We would also recognize the accomplishments of boom operators and what they have actually done. And maybe if someone wanted to write up a role, write up and do a quarterly newspaper or something like that, that would be a PDF form that you send out there with techniques, maybe showing some plant microphones you placed on that you had some success with, or a new accessory you found, or a new trick you have developed, something like that that would help legitimize the whatever the society would be called or whatever. But to me, this is something where there's a professional opportunity here. And like I said, it doesn't need to be a money grab. It just needs to be something, in my opinion, where if you wanted to join, there should be some sort of I guess you could almost say a fee or something like that just to join. And you don't need to have it be a big fee like, $200 like to be an active member of the CAS. It could be a $25 fee for all I care. And all that would basically do is add you to certain mailing lists like the quarterly newspaper or whatever. And that way, if someone wanted to do an article, we could maybe afford to pay them $100 to do an article for a quarterly newspaper. If you wanted to write an article, there could be some sort of legitimacy to writing an article and including making it look good. If there was an opportunity for someone who wanted to help piece together this newsletter or something like that and make it formatted, if they might have a background in Word, let's say, and putting pictures here and there, and they want to typeset the thing, maybe we could pay $500 if there is a yearly membership of $25, something like that. And that way it would be formatted and look good, not just like a big long list of 25 pages of scroll through this thing and there's, regular pictures, something like that. That would be a goal to me. But more so, it would be adding the ability to add initials at the end of your name, just like many other key roles on set that are legit, that are legitimized. Having something where, even if you wanted to say the boom operators that had to join this professional society had to be part of the film industry and work on legitimate projects for at least 10 years. Whatever it happens to be, we could do something like this. We could also recognize legendary boom operators when they retire and recognize the work of people that have been career boom operators that have dedicated their heart and soul to this craft, have sacrificed their own personal health through surgeries, through damage of maybe had damage their ACL, maybe throughout rotator cuffs. Maybe there's a boom operator that had to retire because they were on set and got injured. It would be great to be able to actually share the success and really just celebrate the boom operators that work so hard for this craft and that are not fully recognized for the role and accomplishments they do. You may say, what about sound utilities? Okay, I understand and appreciate that, but still, a sound utility that wires people, their wires are seldom used. They also, is there a reward for craft services? No. Is there a reward for crafty? No. Is there a role for video assist? No. There are legitimate roles in the film industry, but not all of them are going to be celebrated and recognized, nor do they have an actual, like almost every single take you see in the movie. If it involves dialogue, it is the success of the boom operator for getting that microphone over them almost all the time. There are some movies that are just IMAX and they have these loud cameras. You just can't get a boom over them. In that case, yes. And those are few and far between. And I'm not trying to delegitimize or something like that, the sound utilities role. Believe me, I don't look at this as a hierarchy thing where the sound mixer's at the top and then everyone else is below them and the boom operator's second and then the third. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as we're the sound team and we're all part of the same thing. There has to be a department head for the department. That's the sound mixer. But I am no more or less critical than the sound utility, and I don't believe that the boom operator or the sound utility is more or less of a critical role than the sound mixer. You may have a difference of opinion, but I don't believe that. I believe that we are all part of the sound team, and we are all deserving recognition for our successes, and we need to facepalm when we don't have a success because we're all live and die for the sake of the show. But at the same time, maybe there could be an opportunity for a career sound utility to join down the way. But for right now, I think that it would start by legitimizing the boom operator role. If you are a professional boom operator in the film industry and you would like to help me do something like this, this is something I've wanted to do for nearly 10 years now. I would love to have like a career achievement award for somebody that retires or maybe passes on. Like, for example, one person I really wish I could have gotten this thing together for was Don Sufel, who worked with Jeff Wexler. He was a boom operator with over 4 decades of experience. He did a lot of movies, but he also has a reputation for his intensity on set, for getting the exact thing done that needs to happen to get the very best sound. He would put a plant microphone someplace that people would say, that's not going to work. And then he would say, mixer just needs to play it for this one line. The mixer brings it up and it's like, whoa, it's right there. How did that even work out? His ability to diplomatically negotiate a set and get the very best results are industry recognized among sound people. Boom operators know his name. Sound mixers know him and the quality of his work. And I would love to have someone like him be someone that is recognized for his potential, and not just his potential, but for what he has potentially done to completely change boom operating going forward. Because he's quite legendary. I had the opportunity to meet him and hear him talk probably almost 15 years ago. And man, is his insight brilliant. As a matter of fact, my mentor, he also passed on a couple of years ago. I would love to see him recognized. And this isn't just about whoever I see recognized. We would obviously, if there was going to be somebody, if there was going to be some sort of a group like this, then we would need to put it out there and say, who should we nominate that it should be like a retired boom operator for last year? Who should be someone that maybe passed on last year that we should recognize? And then get those names together and put it out to the members and say, let's vote on this. And have the boom operators that are part of this boom operator group vote on who they think should be the recognized person. And then, have there be a write-up about that person. I think that people who contribute to any industry and make a change that is for the better should be recognized. And for that reason, I think it should be something that we try to legitimize, because the role of the boom operator is absolutely critical. So if you actually, again, would like to see something like this happen, and you are a professional boom operator, preferably a career boom operator, and you would like to see the boom operator role actually legitimize in a professional way, not just amongst ourselves, but even amongst peers, where we would have the ability to maybe even say, I'm one of these, not just a pole swinger. I am actually a professional career boom operator, and I'm legitimized by these letters on the back of my name and that are at the back of my name in a movie credit. If this seems appealing to you, send me an email at alan@soundspeeds.us. Write in the comments down below and tell me what your thoughts, if any, are. But if you actually would like to participate with the help of legitimizing this process, shoot me an email, because this is something I would love to see happen for the sound industry. And I have reached out and tried my best to get the Cinema Audio Society to add a sub level or something like that, which it could easily be included in the CAS. There's no interest there. It's not that they don't recognize the work of a boom operator. It's that they're all about mixers. Originally, CAS even started with just post mixers, and sound mixers that did production sound on movie sets weren't even included. After a while, they were included. They were allowed to join. But to me, even if we need to do it ourselves, we need to do it and legitimize our role on set as professionals in the world of sound that adds something very critical to sound for motion pictures and television. So there you have it, another episode of the SoundSpeeds podcast in the can. This was episode 25, and I would like to say thank you very much for watching, especially if you have watched all 25 episodes of this and speed bumps before that and the previous other podcasts that we have done. I am going to continue forth with this. I think that that we've done pretty well with bringing topics forward and tackling them, not challenging them. But if you have any questions that you would like to see me answer in an upcoming episode of the SoundSpeeds podcast, please email me at alan@soundspeeds.us. And I would say write it in the comments below, but the problem is I usually have a tendency of forgetting if there's questions down there. So please send me that email at alan@soundspeeds.us and tell me your questions, and I will include them in an upcoming episode, provided that it seems like a good question. I don't want to say, that there are no good questions, because some of them are just one-word answers. Like, do you boom people if your arms are sore? Yes, there's your answer. Does it really need anything, more to say? You do your job. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the SoundSpeeds podcast. I'll see you in the next episode coming up in 2 weeks, or if you're watching this after the fact, in the next playlist, in the next video in this playlist, whatever. And I'll bring you more sound advice in the future. How's that for an outro? Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.